Hi guys, welcome back to our podcast. I'm Elise.
And I'm Dom.
This week we have a very special guest. Not only does she have over 200,000 followers on social media, but her content is very raw and authentic. She talks about real life issues like mental health and her struggles with borderline personality disorder. She's open about her experience with Ozempic use and eating disorders, and she creates the most authentic and aesthetic restaurant content you'll ever watch. We're so excited to chat today. Welcome, Julia Brads.
Hello.
Hi.
Applause.
I'm so excited.
Okay, we start every episode with our peak and pit of the week.
Okay.
Guest goes first.
Me?
So like something good or something bad that happened last week or like last month or just like something that you can think of like right off the top of your head.
Okay, I feel like peak is Saturday night. I had a night with my boyfriend and we just got drunk, and like I feel like sometimes those are the best type of nights, and we just like frolicked around the city and got different cocktails.
Was it planned?
No.
It
so
just,
I feel like we just like went into it and it wasn't the plan, and it was so much fun and we had like an amazing time. And my pit is I have like a rash on. I mean, were you gonna say this? I have a rash on my chin right now, and it's like driving me freaking crazy.
Like an acne rash or just like a rash?
No, it's like I don't know what it is, but I had to go on antibiotics, so that's my pit.
You saw a dermatologist?
Yeah.
Or you just
I like had it in the past, so
Okay. So you just took it again.
So we covered it up good for this.
Okay.
Yeah, your makeup looks really good.
Thank you.
Okay, what's your peak?
Peak is we hosted an event this past Saturday at Club Pseudo, and we left knowing that the event went really great, but the owner sent us like probably one of the nicest messages we've ever received. And Elise and I were just talking about it, like no other venue has done that. Mm-hmm. Like they're very like appreciative and thankful, like when we're walking out and we're like cleaning up and we're doing our own thing. But he like texted Elise and was like, hey, can I put the two of you in a group chat and can we just chat, and sent us like this paragraph of just like how thankful they were and how like welcoming their team, or like how welcoming our event was. And it was just great.
I think no venue has ever, or even brand has ever said anything to us or like acknowledged the work that sort of goes
like they'll
into
send us
it.
like quick little messages after, or like an Instagram comment like loved it, had so much fun, but he like took the time, put us in a chat, sent us a message Sunday at like 11:30 at night and was like, he's like, I love you guys.
Something I thought that was funny is in the message, he was like, you guys were way more professional than we were expecting. And I'm like, this isn't just like a hobby here.
Yeah, I was like, we're making money off of it.
This is not amateur hour.
Yeah. But it was a really nice message. So that was a peak. And then Pitt, we have our 1-year anniversary dinner next week and I have no outfit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that we need to figure out tonight.
Sort that out.
Yeah. We kind of want to do like, not like matching, but we wanted to do like the oversized blazer and like the lace pants, like the see-through lace pants. And like I was going to do black, you were going to do brown, or like vice versa. But like we need to order it now.
Yeah. And I also like can't find a brown blazer anywhere.
Yeah. So we need
struggling.
one that's like not $400 on Revolve and like
fair.
I'm not spending that.
Yeah.
Okay, your pet and peak.
Peak is just our 1-year dinner is next week, and I'm very excited. I feel like I'm always excited for the events and just like the workouts in general and everything, but it's different when it's like an event curated for other people versus an event literally curated for us.
Great.
I'm so excited.
Dinner's gonna be great.
Yeah, I'm very excited, and like we got really good sponsors, so everybody's getting like a giveaway, and I've been on more brand calls than I can count this past week, but I'm excited.
And then your pet.
Okay, my pit is I've been having so much like hormonal acne on my chin,
and
I don't really get acne, so I don't know what to do with it, and it's like all just under the skin, and I'm like, not cute.
Are you taking anything new, like any new supplements?
No, but I don't know, maybe it's like stress, eating out,
not washing my face,
a blend.
I've heard good things about that SOS spray or whatever.
I use the Tower 28 every single day after I take hot classes.
Do you?
And I spray it on my face every single time because it's like good for like antifungal, antibacteria, especially when you're like touching everything in the class and like everyone's sweat and odor is just like in the air and like you don't realize it. I put it on every single time after I work out.
I mean, I definitely touch my face a lot, so I feel like that's definitely a contributing factor.
I try not to. It's like I never touch my face.
I do all the time.
Like I'll grab like a makeup brush or something and then I'll like fluff my face around.
Yeah.
But I never touch.
Okay, getting into you. how did you get started in social media? Because I know you've been around like on TikTok.
You know what
especially.
video I remember of yours?
What?
The one, it was literally during COVID where you like did like the
I remember that too.
Like your face was like a skull.
Yeah.
That was like the first time that it was like COVID.
Yeah.
It was like peak COVID. That was like the first video of yours that I saw. And then, but I think though, we talk about this all the time. I think people that are thriving now on social media, like really capitalized it off of it in TikTok. And like, you didn't even realize it. Like, you probably made that video and you were like, shits and giggles, there's nothing to do. I'm bored in my house.
Yes.
Like, let me make a video. And it just, like, it took off.
Yeah, that video took me literally 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's still my most viral video. It has, like, 24 million views and, like, I don't know, like 5+ million likes.
And I'm assuming people still like it.
Yeah.
Like
oh, my God. Every day,
circulates.
comments and everything. Like,
Yeah.
I just reposted it because I thought TikTok was ending.
Yeah.
And it got, like, again, 7 million views. Or, like, 8
Did
million.
it?
Yeah. Still going up every day.
So did you gain a lot of followers recently then?
No, because I think it was more nostalgia for people. But the first time around, like, I think I gained like 100,000 from the one video. And like celebrities were sharing it at the time. Like Harry Josie was huge and he did it and he like tagged me and everything. So
did you start the trend?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was like
it.
that
well,
was
they were all like trends individually, and I was the one who made the video
curated
doing
it
all
together.
of them.
Yeah.
Like doing all the Tim Burton trends. And then I went to high school and I made a few YouTube videos, but you know, nothing crazy. And this girl ended up coming to my high school and she ended up being Musically famous, like famous on Musically, which is formerly TikTok. And I became friends with her and she just like really encouraged me to post. Her name's Kristen Hancher. I don't know if you know who that is. But yeah, like after that, I started posting on Musically and gained, I think, 35,000 followers there, and then just kind of continued that a little and then took a break. TikTok opened up and I took my chance.
Did you? Okay, I tried to bring this up, or like when you start on social media and you like bring it up to your friends, like what was that like were people mean,
Oh my
rude,
God.
jealousy, envious, like were they talking behind your back? Because like I think that's like something that a lot of people experience.
I mean,
No.
even us, like recently.
Yeah,
I have like
sure.
I'm gonna say a story about a friend, no longer friends, but you answer the question first and then I'll go.
Yeah, no, it definitely, the reason I think it took me so long to take it seriously, which was like 2019 when I kind of committed more, was because of that, like the fear of what others were going to say, which is just such, can I swear?
Yeah.
Such bullshit. Because at the end of the day, like I'm the only person who matters in the grand scheme of all of that. And making myself happy is like, should be my main priority. So I would say that definitely a lot of people started to reach out more, which is pretty common. Girls that you thought you weren't friends with were like, we have to get cocktails. We have to get coffee.
I've had people like come out of the woodworks. Like we posted something today on House of Movement and we were like, hey, we want to start bringing on more like educational guests, like to just like widen our horizon. And like Elise was like, give us options
from,
of
like,
people,
female health experts to, like,
and then
therapists.
I had a bunch of people being like, hey, like I'd love to come on and like talk about my brand. And I was like, whoa, what?
It's not a sponsored post.
Yeah, like it wasn't, but you see people like come out or like, hey, I think you're doing so cool, like tell me how you're doing it.
Yeah.
Or like,
Or,
I'd
like-
love to get on a call with you.
Yeah.
Or
Talk about
a lot of
what?
people are nosy about money.
Like how much you make.
Yeah.
Like how
That's
much,
crazy.
yeah.
It's so wild. And like when I first started going viral, I was still in university. So going to the bars before COVID, it was like such a short period of time. It was like 2 months of bars, COVID hit. But those 2 months was just boys being like, oh, is that Julia Brads from TikTok?
Oh my God.
Can I buy the TikToker a shot? And it was just,
It was a
Ugh.
lot.
Yeah,
And I feel like
so
that can also be
cringy.
like a little condescending, because
Yeah.
then you're like, you like start to think and you
Oh,
overthink,
yeah.
and then you rewatch that video and then you get in your head and you're like, is it like, are they making fun, or are they just like flirting, or
No, they are making
yeah.
fun, but then in the same breath asking you on a date.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you're embarrassing me in public, but then also
like you're
like, what?
yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of the experience at the beginning.
So
Yeah.
I had a friend, basically it was like, she does social media and never ever 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 like showed support for like anything.
Nothing. No
And it
comment,
was like,
no
Seen
like.
And it-
so many of those.
oh my God. And I felt delusional at one point, because I felt like when I was typing out these messages, I'm like, am I crazy for like asking for like is that like, am I like too in my head, like am I, but it was like,
But it's deeper than a like. It's like I'm starting this brand that is a ton of work, and I'm basically putting
like
myself
never
out there
posted on
for everyone
story,
to
never
see.
commented, never shared, never saved for engagement,
Never came to an event.
never came to an event.
Yeah.
Nothing. And then we had this like massive falling out and like missed the mark. Like
She didn't get
completely,
it. Yeah.
completely like never got it. And she was like, well, like if that's how you feel, then like so be it. And I was like standing there like
Oh my God.
with like my hands just wide open, like not understanding it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think social media and I think putting yourself out there really shows the true colors of a lot of people, and people that will support you like through thick and thin, and people that are just like embarrassed and like they're like, oh, I want nothing, like I want absolutely nothing to do with it.
For sure.
Or
And
like they're
it-
just jealous. Like and the
Yeah.
thing is like, even with the brand that we have created, like we have worked very hard to even get to like the small amount of following that we have.
We had to like embrace like being cringy. That was like my biggest thing. I think when people start on social media, to just like post and
Yeah.
and put yourself out there, you're like, and then you see your sends and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like
I
what
know.
are
that kills me.
like that? You're like, what are people
It's always the
saying?
sends.
It's always the sends and
really
like
get
what's being
you.
said in that chat and like what's being said in that DM group, and you get so in your head and then you become so insecure. And I
don't
think
even
it's
look
like
at it.
the
No.
biggest like mental barrier.
So obviously a lot of your content is also about just mental health in general. I know you're pretty open with your mental health. How has that impacted your response in your content, your relationship? Just
And like I guess my question, a lot of influencers like don't go that route. Like they stray very far away from it, or like I maybe will say it to like be trendy or to be like
Yeah.
relevant. You know, people like, you'll just see that random like mental health post and you're like, where the
where
fuck?
they're
Yeah,
like
where
flashing
they
their
just-
medication.
Yeah.
But there's no context.
Yeah.
And
Where-
there's no like awareness.
When and why were you like, I want to be vulnerable on social media? And like, why was that something that was like super important to you? Which like, I think people love and reciprocate it, but to be like so open about it, it was like, was that something that you were like just an automatic thing, or?
No, definitely not. It's been like such a long journey.
No.
And I think, honestly, thinking back to the beginning of the TikTok days, there was the Hype House and there was Sienna May. And she kind of went viral for showing her stomach and
Oh
stuff.
my God, yeah, I remember all of her
And
stuff.
Yeah, and that was at a time where I was gaining weight for the first time in my life. Like I had always been like 115 to 120 pounds, and then just started rapidly gaining weight during COVID. And
Did you
so
know,
she's
was it from like something specific?
yeah, I would say like I think that I had an eating disorder for so long that I didn't know it was an eating disorder, or not even an eating disorder, like disordered eating. Like I just wasn't hungry, so I didn't eat very much.
So you were just skinny. Like, you
yeah,
were just
so I was
petite.
just super thin from having like a half of a meal plus some crackers in a day, which is awful for your
Yeah.
body. But I just didn't know.
I also think that's like such a high school mentality, because I look back to when I was in high school too, and I was modeling at the
Yeah.
time, and like I wouldn't pack a lunch to school, or I would
Yeah.
like count my almonds, and like thought nothing of it at the time.
No.
And now I look back and I'm like, I had such
like, Lord help that
disordered
girl.
like
Yeah.
eating habits
Well,
where
it wasn't the same discussion it is now either. Like now people kind of are talking about it more. There's more resources, all of that stuff. So I think that was kind of a big catalyst, was this moment of being like, I'm not comfortable in my own skin anymore, which was really terrifying.
And then being in the social eye.
Yeah.
And then you like just started taking off on TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously the comments started coming in and all of that stuff. And so I just was felt so down about myself that I realized there must be so many people that feel that way. And it made me sad that when I was thin, I never had thought of that before. And so, not necessarily that I wanted to share my experience because for fun or whatever, it was more like that I knew it might help other people.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it was coming from, because as I said, Sienna's content at the time was something that I was like, wait a second, like she's going viral and she's literally showing her natural body and there's nothing wrong with it. Like most of the comments are so nice.
Yeah.
Girls were always really nice. And going back to the shares, like the shares is something that you definitely still, I see to this day, of people sharing videos, especially where I'm kind of standing up fully, or the questions of, are you pregnant? I get that all the time.
That's like appalling.
Yeah, it's like I can't go on live without "are you pregnant" comments.
I know that you mentioned that you dabbled with Ozempic a little bit, and that's definitely a very trendy topic right now.
Yeah.
And I personally know a lot of people that I went to university with that they're not outspoken about it, but it's known that they all
do it to
stay skinny, and they are already tiny girls. And I think in my head, I would assume that it causes such like a disordered way of life or like eating habits, because you're taking this medication as like an already just young girl and with the goal of losing weight. And even I heard Alabama Barker talking about it, and she is like 18 years old.
18.
Yeah.
And she's doing Ozempic.
Yeah.
And it's like an accepted
It's so
thing.
accepted. It's horrifying. Like, it actually makes me so sad now that I've kind of been through that process, because one, we don't know the like what's going to come from it.
So just so I'm like, I don't speak poorly about it, isn't it for people that are diabetic?
Yes.
Like that is like originally the intent for what it's for.
Yes.
And like you take it to like regulate your, I guess just your,
it slows down your digestion.
Okay.
So that it takes longer to digest, which I guess
it's kind of like an appetite suppressant at the
Okay.
end of the day,
But
which realistically
but it is for
people that are
yeah.
diabetic.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
that's what the purpose is.
Yes.
Okay.
And it also, I see videos all the time of people saying now that it's leading to like bone mass loss.
I saw that.
Which is super scary. I'm
Especially
lucky.
if you're like not fully developed as a female.
especially
Yeah.
as females, like females are already so susceptible to things like osteoporosis and
Yes.
osteopenia, just because our bone density is a lot lower from
Yeah, they're seeing
like
osteoporosis
menstruating and all
from
these
it.
things.
Really?
And
Yeah.
now I've seen a lot in just like TikTok videos or like news articles and stuff that it can really lead to osteoporosis as like a young girl, because
Yeah.
if you're losing too much weight, your body really doesn't have anything to like sustain itself.
Yeah. I went on it for, I think, 3-4 months.
How long
And
ago?
in 2023, I believe. 2023. So it was before Coachella, because I was like, I need to be skinny for Coachella. I can't do this. Like, I'm going to be with all the other influencers.
How did you
Such
hear
an
about it?
awful mindset at the time, too. I had started hearing about it online from some people, like the celebrities and stuff. But this isn't when like people in Toronto were
Yeah.
doing it and people around the world were doing it. Like, I was one of the first people that I had ever heard of kind of doing it, and I
Like
did
talk
it.
about it. So like who did you talk about it with? Like who, like
I
with
didn't
it?
tell anyone. I got it I got prescribed it from my doctor, and I was willing to pay anything for it. I was still under OHIP, and somehow they were able to put it through under OHIP, which is so bad in itself, in my opinion, because technically it should go under OHIP for like diabetes, not weight loss. And
Was there like requirements that you had to be like
Yeah.
physically to go on it? Like
you have to have a certain like body mass index.
okay.
I don't remember the exact percentage, but
Which is crazy, because actually BMI means nothing.
Yeah.
Because you can have a ton of muscle mass and your BMI can say that you're obese.
Yeah.
But it's just because you're muscle mass.
yeah, so I actually didn't even have to go into the doctor, which is like the first concern. I had a phone call appointment, so she hadn't seen me in like a long time. And I pretty much just told her I weighed 5 pounds more than I did to get it, which is, again, don't recommend that. Like, not a
You just
good
boosted
idea.
it a little bit, yeah.
And I went on it. The first like 2 weeks were so amazing. I stopped binge eating. I felt so good. And that's the one thing that I will say it helped with is I have a pretty bad binge eating disorder, which is I think led to the weight gain in such a drastic way. And it really stops that food noise, like the noise that constantly is happening where you are thinking of food. Like I could be out with friends and we had just had dinner and I could not wait to get home to go through my cupboards and take whatever I could to stuff into my mouth. And that went away. And that was like amazing. And then all of a sudden I started noticing that I was having anxiety and I just did not think that the two are correlated. I thought that it was because, Coachella was coming up. I had a lot of planning to do. And the anxiety just kept getting worse and worse until the point where we were about to leave for Coachella the night before. I saw you at Toronto Tans.
Oh my gosh, I think that was like the first time I met you.
Probably. I was like in there. So I looked back at the photos recently, like I was like sweating my tan off because I had so much anxiety that night. I went home and I got into bed and I was shaking so badly that my boyfriend had to pack like all my luggage, all my Coachella outfits. Like he had to drag me to the airport in the morning. Like nothing was fixing this. And I know now that it was the Ozempic because we've now have studies and have seen people literally be hospitalized for their mental health because of it, which is so sad.
So it was just like a gradual
thing.
It just got worse and worse and worse over time. And
And I lost like 10 pounds in that time. I gained it back the second I went off of it. So it's also not like you're like you.
Like it's not sustainable. Like you're not on Ozempic for your whole life.
No, And then.
So when you like had this conversation with your doctor, were any of these side effects listed? Did they get addressed? Like, did they tell you that this is not a long-term solution? Like, what was I would hope that they would be like the medical professionals that you expected to say, like, this is what's gonna happen and this is what you can experience.
I feel like with all medication, unfortunately, they tell you the side effects, but they're often kind of like glazed over.
I find that's the same with birth control.
Yeah.
Birth control ruined
so
my
bad.
life. Ruined my life.
Me too. I was on like different, I probably went on, 6 or 7 different kinds from high school until university because I wasn't getting a period because I was underweight. Mm-hmm. And that was their solution to fix it, even though somebody could have just said, gain a few pounds. That was their solution
with everyone in high school.
Underweight, but they never said like, hey, maybe let's get this girl to eat more. It was just like, let's get her on birth control.
And it caused me like this like depression tunnel. And as like a kid.
And you're like, if you don't have people in your family that are all like super depressed, you don't usually know that you're dealing with depression, especially at that age.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they did tell me kind of like the plan was a year and we're going
to be on it.
And we're going to make our way up to this amount of a dosage. And I had just upped my dosage right before Coachella, which I think is part of why I had an easy kind of first few weeks. And then it started to go downhill. And I spent the first Coachella. I got to the festival. I made it 45 minutes the first night and I left. And I went back to the Airbnb and I spent the entire night shaking on the bathroom floor. Like it literally ruined my first night of Coachella. And I know that's not the end of the world at all.
No, but like to feel like altered. Like I can't imagine going through something like that. You're in a social setting, you flew there, you spent money, like whatever it was, you have maybe commitments with brands that you're there for, like whatever the case may be, and then you're like overwhelmed with this anxiety that also is not controllable. Oh my God, I know that feeling.
That feeling is like debilitating.
Like I felt helpless. And I was also literally doing the thing that I've dreamt of since I was a child. Like Coachella has been my number one dream forever. And to have made it for 45 minutes was so devastating.
Were the people that you were with understanding? Like, did you feel like you had a support system when you were there?
I was with just my boyfriend, but the artist he wanted to see most was that night.
Aw.
And so he was such an angel and brought me home, and he ended up just watching the artist on the live stream.
Yeah.
But, you know, like that was also something that played into it, because I'm also taking that experience away from someone else who also paid money to be here and also has dreamt of this.
Yeah.
So that was unfortunate. Luckily, I somehow pulled my shit together for day 2 and 3 and had a great time. Met so many fun celebrities and different people, and I had a great trip. But then when we went to LA after, it kind of like the anxiety came back. So I did get to experience Coachella without it, but then the rest of the trip was just like
Did you ever think
canceled
then
dinner.
to like go on anti-anxiety medication?
Yeah, so then I went home, and I think I made that appointment around that time with my doctor and went on like anxiety and depression meds and everything, which have changed my life. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know you talk about having borderline personality disorder. I don't know much about even what that is.
Yeah.
But does that correlate with anxiety and depression at all?
Yes, it definitely does. I don't know exactly how, because I'm still learning about all of it so much, but borderline personality disorder, I'll give you like a little synopsis, is kind of due to childhood trauma is what they relate it to, whether that's emotional, physical, whatever that looks like for you. So for me, I think it's just like emotional absence of my father, kind of not, you know, feeling good enough or things like that. And I didn't know I had it. And then I become this person when I'm in a relationship that's like pretty awful at times. And I didn't know why, because it's just not who I am as a person. Like, I'm so loving to my friends. I'm so loving to like everyone around me. And then I just would have this hatred for my partner.
Awful in the sense that you're picking fights?
Yeah,
or that
like
you're...
pick fights, like the uncontrollable sobbing, because you cannot just regulate your nervous system like a normal person, or normal person. I use that lightly. But yeah, it definitely, they all go hand in hand, and it's just like hard to live with because you're constantly second guessing everything, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay.
And when did you, like, when was that realization? Like, was that after going on anti-anxiety medication and like that all came to light? Was it seeing a therapist? Like, how did you realize?
How did you like diagnose that?
Yeah, like how did you come to that conclusion?
I got like a referral, and I talked to someone about it, and they had diagnosed me with it, but I was at the time just like, I don't have BPD, like this bitch is crazy. And then as time went on, I was like, wait a damn minute, I think I have BPD.
Like, the symptoms are lining up.
The symptoms are lining up, because I was like, no, I'm like bipolar, or I'm like this or that. I thought it was everything under the sun other than BPD, and that's just because I didn't know much about it.
Well, I don't think anybody really talks about it, because I mean, everybody talks about anxiety now.
Yeah.
And everybody talks about depression, but nobody talks about something like bipolar disorder or even multiple personality disorder, because I feel like, not like they're niche, but I don't know if people really understand them.
I think they get misdiagnosed often too. That's what I've heard is a big thing. The celebrities that I know, as I believe like Trisha Paytas has it, like for instance, she's a great example of untreated BPD, like those meltdowns that she used to have on the floor back in the day, and everyone loved those YouTube videos. That is someone that is like hurting so much that like that's kind of how it works out for them, and that's kind of what was happening for me. Like, if you get tipped off, I could be tipped off of anything, and it will just be like 4 hours of sobbing, and it could be such a little thing. Like,
so that's the route that your, I guess, reaction normally goes. It's more like towards the sadness spectrum.
Yeah, it's usually, or just uncertainty and confusion. Like, I can use my relationship as the best example because I understand it the best. Usually narcissists love bomb you and then kind of take that away. When I'm deeply in love with someone, I hate bomb. I'm constantly hating on them and verbalizing that to them. And it's not because I hate them. It's because I have to keep this boundary between them and like my heart, kind of, where I feel safe enough, right? Like at the end of the day, you walk away, well, whatever, like, you know.
I'm fine.
But that's not actually how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And having that, and then like social media and talking about it online, like does it affect you? Like, do you, now that you've vocalized that you have this and something that is very, very, very common, like mental health like runs in my family, like I know what that diagnosis is, like what's the reaction of like talking about that online and like with your friends and like with your boyfriend, and to like be super vulnerable, because like Elise said, like anxiety and depression is something that is spoken about so openly, and I think almost not that you don't take it seriously, but it's so common that you're like, yeah, it's just another girl with anxiety, and like that's fine, we all experience it. But then to come out and be like, no, like I have borderline person, and not that it's something crazy and like so like left field that you can't understand, but it is something that's definitely not spoken about. So how is like just talking about it?
It's hard, and I think that I need to do it more. Like, it is something that is on my goal or on my list of goals for 2025, is to just be more open specifically about the BPD, just because I know there's so many people who may relate, even that aren't diagnosed, and be, you know, maybe I'll make a doctor's appointment and go from there. So I do want to do that more. But with what you said about anxiety, something that I think is also happening is that it's so on like talked about online.
It's like on trend.
It's like almost on trend, not to take away from people's experiences, but there's a difference between healthy anxiety and I'm diagnosed with anxiety. So healthy anxiety is when you're going to do an exam and you feel a little nauseous, you're a little stressed. Like, that is normal in life. It's normal to get anxious over things. It's not normal to think about the fact that you have to go to the grocery store and then you can't go because you are shaking and blah, 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 blah. Like, that's where I think that differentiates.
People also are so quick to say that they have anxiety, but they don't
like,
look back
nerves.
at their...
Like, it's just... And it's not like you're not valid, and I would never want like me to talk about someone else's anxiety and be like, no, it's not. But I do think people will kind of like ride that wave,
well,
or like that train.
People who are so quick to say that I have anxiety and I have all these problems, but they are unable to then look back on their just like daily life choices of having caffeine in an empty stomach.
Yes.
Or not sleeping enough hours.
I need to work on this so bad.
Remember I said it to you? I like will wake up and have coffee, and for like 3 months I would be like sitting at my laptop at like 9:30 dripping sweat. Like, I'm talking like anxiety through the fucking roof, like sitting in my Monday morning company meeting and like like feeling like I was gonna projectile vomit with anxiety. I remember I said it to you and I was like palm sweating, and then I literally saw a stupid video online and it was like talking about your cortisol level and like why you shouldn't have caffeine in an empty stomach, and like now I eat whatever, and like day and night. No, but like crazy. Sure. Like, my anxiety would be insane. Like, for like 3 hours. Like, I could not focus. Like, I'm sweating like through shirts. Like,
well, even like caffeine, sleep. Like, I know that if I don't get at least 7 or 8 hours a night, I am a mess, and I'm anxious and I'm irritable and all these things. Or even being out of a routine, or vitamins, or what you're eating. Like, have you eaten a vegetable today? Like, let's think about it. And I think all of those things, or working out, life choices can really make the biggest difference when it comes to mental health. But I think people are so quick to just go on a medication to just fix the problem. And I think what my dad always says, because my dad is a doctor, and he always says, like, if you have tried everything else and it's not working, go for it.
Yes.
But let's try the other things first.
I agree 100%.
What's your fix, like, for being super anxious one day, or like you're just having a moment? Like, what is your go-to? Like, is it being with family, seeing your mom, seeing your friends, spending a day with your boyfriend, turning your phone off? Like, what is like your comfort fix?
I think right now, it's being alone in my condo where I feel is my safe space. And especially when it's clean and like your bed's made, I'll just turn on like all the like low lights and put on my favorite show, and even just doom scroll or something. I know that that's not the most healthy.
But
but
that can
sometimes
be so therapeutic.
it can really help me, because I'm constantly connected to the outside world, that is a time where I can kind of just do what I want. And, you know, even going to the gym, like that's an amazing thing and it helps so much. And when I was really going to the gym like often, it was definitely helping. But then you're also dealing with having to see people all the time, and sometimes after work and seeing people or doing stuff with people,
the gym
you
can
don't want
also
to.
be a stressful place. Like even for myself, throughout university, it was like at the gym every day, same time, hardcore. I was taking creatine, like on it. And then I came to Toronto and I started to sort of die out of that wave, because I used to go to all women's gyms. Every gym I've been to always has had like a full women's gym section. And in Toronto, they don't have that. And the Toronto gyms are packed to the brim with men who are staring at you and who are just surrounding you. And it's very uncomfortable. And me and Dom talk about it all the time. Like, why is there not a women's gym in Toronto?
There should be.
There should be. Like, even Sweat and Tonic, it's still open to men. And I'm not saying like anti-men here. I'm just saying like a lot of female anxiety related to working out comes from men. Yeah, I mean, this isn't, men are so allowed to use the Stairmaster, but have you seen that trend on TikTok?
Like, they're like, you better look good in a bikini.
Yeah.
They're like, why do you want it? They're like, fuck off.
Because now you go to even just use the Stairmaster and it's literally only men on them, which, you know, at a time we used to get made fun of that all we did was the Stairmaster. So
I saw this, I was listening to this psychotherapist on TikTok, and she was explaining like the deep rooted importance of working out, and she was explaining like how it's so much more than just like the way that you feel in the mirror. And she was like, when you work out, you feel like you have movement, and when you have movement, you can clean your space and you can keep your house clean and there's no clutter, and like you feel confident to like go out and maintain like your friendships. And she was just like explaining how much more like levels of depth there are with working out. And like I've talked about this before on the podcast, like I'm so into fitness. Like it is something that I love. Like I love to work out, I love to be healthy, but for me it's like it's so much more than just like, oh, I want to like be a size 25 and like be super skinny. Like it keeps me sane. And I just was so into it, and it made so much sense when she was explaining it, because she's like, people that are overweight, like majority of the time you go to their space and like they're not, their house is not clean because they don't feel mobile, and they can't, everything just kind of like lingers. And she was like, this is something that I see consistently with like my clients, that they'll be like, this is how I feel about my body, and then she digs into like other facets of their life and everything is like not where it needs to be. And I just thought that was like, so
that's very interesting,
like very very
even
important.
like I think about like when I do like a workout class or something,
you just feel like you want to like keep that momentum going. Like you come home and you're like, I want to eat good.
Well, you're also like already dressed.
You
already did your hair. You probably put a little bit of makeup on. You're out the door. You're coming back. You're getting your smoothie.
And it's like this momentum that like trickles on into like so many different like facets of your life. Like when I stop working out, going back, I'm like, ugh, like it's so hard, and you're like, oh, I'm not gonna go to the gym today. Like I'm not gonna eat good, because like it just like it's such like a weird mindset.
For sure.
But she went so deep into like the levels of when people are so far gone of like where they want to be physically. It's because like everything else just like doesn't
like
keep up. And then your mental health, because then you are like, I hate how I look, and then you're anxious, and I'm anxious, and like now I don't want to leave my house, and then you don't grocery shop, and then you just order in, and then it trickles up, and then you're like, my kitchen's a mess. And I was like, oh my god, like it was so insightful.
And that happened to me. Like you're just,
I know,
like that's pretty much was my life.
You just sit in like your funk, and like you sit in your mess, and then you don't make your bed, you don't wash your sheets, because you're like, I'm not leaving, like this I'm gonna stay here for like the week.
And then you don't have time to do anything like those things that we were talking about, like go to the gym or do the things that make you happy, because you're too consumed by the idea of your space and everything. So then that would just consume my brain, plus the body thoughts and everything. Like you're 100% right. That can definitely play a role in a lot of people's kind of journeys, health journeys and stuff.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode. Julia, where can people find you?
On TikTok and Instagram at Julia Brads.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being on. I think we've been saying we love having people on that really like talk about stuff that's
like
important. Real life issues and stuff that goes further than what meets the eye, because like I think Instagram, social media is very fake and it's very superficial, and you never really know. Like, you're a pretty girl and people will be like, oh, what could she possibly be stressing out about?
Yeah,
like, what are her
sure.
worries? And then it's like, no, you listen to the podcast and you're like, wow, we actually relate and we have similar things that we experience in our day-to-day. So just thank you for coming on.
Thank you.